we are talking about the amazingness of women. And I really do that Wallace Stegner quote where he says, their women are incredible. It's true. I look at how you guys keep getting expanded and expanded and expanded some more. And that just creates this new norm. Sure, I can do that. Sure, I can do that. And then we have a moment where we're like, do I have to do that? No, I am chilling out today. Everybody leave, right? And then we go back to it. And it's not a bad thing. Like, it's not, no, I need to go out. I need to call stuff out. Sometimes, yes. But what I see is this expansion, this ability, this increased capacity that President Nelson is talking about, that I'm doing what I did not think I could do 5 years ago and 5 years before that. And even though I was busy and all the things, it's different. It's the level, the depth and the breadth that I'm able to do in this tool belt that he is helping me gain along the way, with a little bit of whining here and there, sure. But I didn't realize it is becoming a skill set. Like, it's not just if I can just get through this, if I can just like, let's just make it through to here, and then Thanksgiving we can all collapse, right, on Friday. But it is more of this expansion skill set that I'm seeing that he is doing for me and for you. And then as we do this as covenant women, sorry, this wasn't even planned on to share, but it's just been on my mind this morning. As we connect with covenant women, that norm, that expectation increases. We see what other women are capable of doing, and it's not in a comparison way. I mean, occasionally, I know we have our moments where we're like, but that's okay, that's normal. But this expansion vision, when we see it, we can become it, because we're like, oh, well, she did that and she did that, and I know she's a normal person, so the Lord can do that. He can do that with her. He can do that with me, right? It's just incredible for me to see. And I feel like in a very real way, you guys, that we are that 20%. You know, there's always that 20% in the ward and 20% in the stake that always show up and they always put away the chairs. You know what I mean? But we are that walking vision, if you will, for other women to look at us and say, oh, if she can do it and do it for him, and she can do it with her kids and still keep family first, oh, I can do that, right? And that's the gift that we give other women, regardless of whether we have likes, posts, and how many keynotes, whatever. That's really not it. It's that he is helping us become this visual aid of, this is what I am going to do with you guys and what I can do if you choose it. And I just want you to know that is no small thing. Sorry. Your sacrifice and your willingness to be expanded and to be stretched. And it's one thing to say, yeah, I know President Nelson said I need to increase my capacity, but you are doing it every day and you're increasing that capacity. You don't even know how much you are influencing other people just by being that visual. And if you can indulge me one more minute, I was just thinking about that this morning. Gosh, sorry, who knew? Okay, bladder infection. Who knew that could spark so many thoughts, right? But I was thinking about 7 kids and raising them, and all had, depression, anxiety, ADHD, all these things. And I'm reading up stuff and I'm trying to figure out stuff and I'm trying to do coping skills and I'm praying for divine inspiration because nobody's talking about Asperger's. I don't even know what that is until somebody finally diagnosed him, and there's nothing. This is 15, 20 years ago, you guys, nothing. Anyway, all the things, plus 18 books and speaking and knowing that's what he wants me to do and plugging me in and out of radio and newspaper and TV and all these things. And I look back and I'm like, and keep it doing the chore charts and doing the lunches and getting them wax museum and getting them ready for their things and talking through their deep things. And women, we for sure have angels helping us on the daily. There is no way we could expand and increase in this capacity without angelic tutors and mentors and help. There is just no way. And as I was standing there this morning, I can't describe how that just kind of descended on me. Just this gratitude and this awareness, a deeper awareness, which is still like this, of how much he has seen me and others, you guys, through, and how much he has been involved in the details of our lives and getting us to these points, these places, and plugging us in and out in ways we didn't expect, for things that we didn't understand and still don't, right? But then when we come upon that switch point place, we go, oh, Yeah. Okay. I get it. And you prepared me, didn't you? For, like it says in Ether, for the winds that will come and the floods that will come. And he's prepared you for when you're down under the water and when you pop back up. He's prepared you against all of these things for you being obedient and meek. And like I was saying in that text this morning to everybody, the difference that I saw between Limhi's people and Alma's people was the covenant keeping. They kept their covenant so the Lord could give them power. He could activate that. He could prepare the way. He could do so many things to help them that they didn't have to do on their own. And again, it led them to a greater testimony of him. So anyway, I not planned on sharing any of that, but as women, as mom Anns, and as women of God, and especially as DTLs, we go with God because there is no other way. There is no other way we could do this. So if you're ever talking with someone and they say things like, sometimes I get these snarky things like, well, you're so busy. Have you ever had that? I'm looking at her and I'm like, I know your schedule. I'm actually home more than you are, but I don't say that. And in my mind, I'm like, that is so snarky. And it's the tone. But you're so busy, and you just want to go, no. And then I do the Wendy Christensen, a lot of forgiving. But I look at that. We're going to have those kinds of things. We're going to have a thick skin and be able to know we are on the right path. And that was another thought that came to me so many times. I was cleaning out some tubs and I happened to find my little temple notebooks, and they're from the remodel. But the temple notebooks are like when I've had a special experience at the temple, and then I just write it down in this very special notebook, and nobody else reads it or sees it. I couldn't even find it, right? But anyway, I felt to read through it, and I started reading. This was all meant to be. I know he placed all of these things. And so I started reading through these temple experiences, and I thought, all these times that I was wondering, am I on the right path? Am I doing the right thing? Is the Lord okay with what I'm doing? Am I doing it right? I look back and I'm like, why did I keep asking? Stop asking. I got the download. Why didn't I just believe? Because all of these experiences just kept showing yes, 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 yes. Like he couldn't have said it any more clearly and repeatedly, but I kept wondering and worrying. So again, as a bookend, just if you have those moments and those days where you're like, am I on the right path? Am I doing the right thing? You could not do this without God. You could not keep this pace, this schedule, this learning, this capacity while you're doing family stuff and all of that. You could not. I'm just letting you know, as talented and gifted as we all are, I know the things that he's helped me to be able to learn how to do. And even with all of those things, there's just no way. There is no way. There is no other way. And I love that Ether 12:11, in the gift of his son, God has prepared a more excellent way. And I just felt that this morning. So anyway, I feel to share that in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. It just needed that. Okay. Woo. Love you. Thank you for coming to my spiritual TED Talk. No, thank you for indulging me this morning with a very long devotional thought. All right. Let's go into any Q&A today. First and foremost, I want to do anything that's top of mind. I saw your beautiful speaker one sheets. Did you get my responses to those? Sorry, it was at the doctor's office. So I was like trying to hurry and do stuff, but I saw things, and I just wanted to say, and I said this to Sweet Jerusha, I'm sure it's super annoying when you guys send me things and I always have feedback. And you're like, I just want you to say it's great, right? Just, and I hope you feel the sandwich of it, that I'm like, this is so good, right? And then here's some thoughts to consider. I don't know until I see it. And you're like, why didn't you say that on the first draft, right? But it just, hold it down. And sometimes there's things I see and I don't. It's like me saying about my son playing the piano. I'm not going to say everything that I see at that time, right? Because he'd be completely overwhelmed and just be like devastated. Like, I just don't want to go back and touch the piano, right? And it's not that you guys are doing anything wrong. It's an art piece. It's a work in project. It's the same thing with my keynotes. I've been in keynotes for almost 30 years. I still have to get feedback on my keynotes and doing it differently. And it's just never done. So like laundry, it's never done because you're wearing clothes. It was never done. Can't go there. It would just process too much. So just know I'm super proud of you guys. Any questions on your one sheet, on your keynotes, on anything? Take it away. What questions do you have? Jerusha.
We should just all come to this meeting naked and then laundry wouldn't be an issue.
Loincloths, people, bring them back.
You can only see me from here up anyway. Okay, so that's actually not my comment, but I had the thought. So all the stuff you're saying, I'm thinking this would make a great keynote. But I see
You have
them
been trained
everywhere.
well, my Padawan learner. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, and this morning, like, is it Lisa? She's like, I have a daughter going into labor, and you said something about a fire, and we have Diane going through withdrawal, and and it's like, okay, there's another keynote, first of all, and second of all, what's up with that, But I mean, it's not even Monday, but I was I was thinking about what you were saying about the pioneer women, and in one of their journals, one of them said, I had one job, and that was to survive. And I thought, that's not one job though, really, is it? I mean, what about your kids? And what about the fact that you had to find food all the time, and you had to, what about menopause? How did that even go? You know? I
Yes,
mean, seriously. And I mean, I know that they knew some things about herbs and
herbs and
whatever,
things like that, for
but
sure.
still hot flashes in those dresses. I mean, it's not like me and where I just take off my sweatshirt and I'm like, yeah, I'll write it out, it's fine. But I also, on the flip side, Michael McLean, I don't know, in one of his plays, he actually has a pioneer woman come out on stage and say, I had one job and that was to survive. And I was like, you know, and she said, but the wilderness that you face is far greater than anything that I ever did. And I thought about that. And at the time, I was in high school and I was like, yeah, but now I'm like, oh, girl, I get it. Because we don't always put first things first. I think that's our primary job, is to survive. And
Yes.
how many times do we say, I'll go to bed after I do all these things, for my kids and to get everything ready for tomorrow. And I'll have lunch after I get this project done. And I'll eat breakfast after I do A, B, C, D, and E this morning, because if I don't do that now, I won't get it done today. And, we're not always putting our well-being, our survival first. And we have all these distractions now that they didn't have. And it was hard enough for them. I
Yeah.
mean, I can't even imagine, like you said, I can't wait to talk to them and say, how did you do that?
Did you
How
do
many
it?
layers was that skirt, I
And
mean,
the
how did
dirty,
it
and
go?
then
Yeah, I know. And it didn't matter what temperature it was. That's what you were wearing, And
yes,
it was just, it's amazing. But at the same time, I wonder if they didn't have it right in a lot of ways, in the sense that they were like, I'm going to pray and I'm going to get through this. And
and keep to the basics.
that was it, because the basics
Yes.
were all that they had,
Oh yeah.
and it was like a distraction. No, I'm just trying to survive day to day. I'm trying to get to Zion. I'm trying to,
Super focused.
keep my family alive, keep myself alive. And that's the objective. And if I can do that, great.
I'm
And if I can't, then I just believe that
It'll all work
that was
out.
the way it's supposed to be. So
I agree. And I think that focused thing of, like you mentioned, those basics of, isn't that covenant keeping? And that's what we're trying to do and teach people in our respective things, is get back to that core so that we can do the things that we came here to do and not get sidetracked on all of these, even if it's an accident on the freeway, a blah, 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 blah. It's okay. This is a vehicle, no pun intended. This is a vehicle for me to utilize these things. My first thought this morning was, oh my gosh, I've got to, do I go now to the doctor? And then I've got to go to the pharmacy. Will they be able to do it? Because I've got to get back at 9:30 for the thing. Why is it this morning, right? Why didn't this happen like last week or what? And then I stopped and I went, oh no, thank thee that this is happening right now. And my little guy can go on the bus and I can shoot down, and I have an urgent care 7 minutes away. And I probably won't have to wait long because it's right at the beginning. And so I went down all of those things and just started going in that place of gratitude. And that's what made me start thinking of these pioneer women and those thoughts from the shower, and all these things started to come in together. And it became a keynote experience, right? It became a consecrated thing, a holy moment, instead of just, oh, this is such an inconvenience and how is it? And I think that's what he's trying to get us to do, is just like we were talking before, alchemizing all that happens to us through that covenant lens, through all of that to say, how is this strengthening me? How is this making me better? How is it increasing my capacity? So how this relates to speaking is this is exactly what you're doing as a speaker, and then in sharing your message. This is exactly what you're doing. You're trying to give clarity. I saw these 4 things the other day. In fact, I wrote them down from the Speaker Lab. And these were 4 things. And I wanted to share with you a couple of thoughts today. But first, I want to see if you have any questions. And I had a couple of thoughts that I think will be helpful. 4 things that I saw at the Speaker Lab. The ones that were the most powerful, 4 C's. You know, I had to have something, either 4 C's or something, right? Clarity. They were very clear in their message, utterly, completely clear. And of course, the detail women rocked the clarity. I'm just going to say it. Clarity. They had conviction. They spoke with conviction. They didn't do a keynote talk. And when I was 5 and you can see when someone switches into that keynote gear, right? And you can tell that there's going to be gestures and they did it. They were absolutely, they spoke with conviction. They paused. They had passion behind what they were saying. They didn't just do a rote memorization. Super important. 3rd, credibility. They threw in those credibility pieces when I was talking with my clients, when I was speaking on this stage, when I did X, Y, and Z. That was that anchor point of credibility of, oh, okay, I need to listen and pay attention to this person. Suddenly they have, cash, not cash money, but cash value, right? With a CAG. And then the last one was connection. Those that connected, just like at NSA, when they were talking about the most important thing in your keynote is your relatability, is your ability to talk with and connect with your audience. Instead of talking, I always say, don't talk at them, talk with them, right? So I really encourage you to think about those 4 C's, because I saw it clear as a bell as all of those Speaker Lab people were going up to the stage, and I was backstage. So I'm just looking through the portal, right? The little hole, but I can hear, and then I can see them walking, and I can feel if they're doing those things. And I could tell the ones that I was immediately drawn to, or the other ones that I was just like, really, I checked out and I was just looking at my thing to get prepared for me going up. So anyway, just a couple of thoughts on there. Okay, any questions? One sheet, keynote, any questions at all?
I had 2 things and now I can't remember the second thing. So I'll go with the first one and then we'll see if it comes back.
It'll come.
I was looking into like putting credibility things up at the top, kind of like you suggested, and of my one sheet. And I am not quite sure how to put, so I have a degree in early childhood special education, and I have been trained in applied behavior analysis. But I'm not a behavior specialist because I don't have the master's degree in it. So I'm not really sure what to put there to show that credibility without it being like,
it needs to be accurate.
More than, right, yeah.
Right. I would say certified trainer or certified educator or something like that. Educator is a good word to put on the end of something.
I had that thought too. I thought like, yeah. But I almost like specifically want like behavior in there because, or like child, or because some of my credibility with Deliberate Family has really been because of my training in that way, right? Like,
yes,
like,
and you want to add that.
I know what, you know what I mean? But I just don't know how to put it succinctly.
Yeah, maybe something like, as I, when I received my training in early childhood, blah, 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 I noticed, or like with Angela Myers, I said, as during my master's program in blah, 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 I created a system for families, blah, blah, blah. So it's kind of a nice, soft way to sort of get that in there. So I would say, as I trained in, as I certified in blah, 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 or you could just say as a certified, I don't know, again, what your specific word can be that, you know, what the degree or certification is, but education, training in, certified in, something like that is really helpful, because then people get the idea. You've got actual educational experience in that background, and then hook it onto what it is that you actually did. Did you create a system? Did you observe these pain points, right? I observed that families struggled in these 3 top areas, and now my staff does blah, 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 blah. And I would encourage you to, on your talks, talk titles, something to consider on your one sheet. Like Katrina does deliberate families, and that has a lot of options in there, right? You teach them how to organize and how to do mindset and then how to create connection and all those things. So perhaps choose out of your 3 talk titles, choose 3 different aspects that hit 3 different things. So I noticed yours were like preparing for the Savior, and a couple of them seemed like they were a little bit similar that way. So I would encourage you to, then that way when meeting planners are looking, if they're like, well, this isn't a stake women's conference thing, right? This is more of a family conference, and we're going to have non-denominational, and we don't want to have any kind of religious thing. If you say 3 ways to finally get your family organized in a day or a week or something like that, right? Then that's a title that they can go, oh, okay, that's across the board, and that's kind of more of that third concentric circle life skills. So there's, I call them self, relationships, and then life skills, right? So it's not offensive. It's pretty, yeah, it's just, it's the thing, it's logistical. You can't really get too up in arms and offended by that. So it's just a thought to consider. Have a couple of different areas that you do, but they're all under your umbrella, right? So I could talk about purpose. I could talk about being a speaker or a writer or a media presence. So it would depend on that particular conference, what they would be looking for. If they're looking for professional, if they're looking for more touchy-feely, if they're looking for more like, wow, how did you become blah, 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 right? They want the stepping stones of whatever. So anyway, just something to consider. Again, none of this is the 11th commandment, but it's just what I've noticed has worked.
Okay.
Any other questions? And did the second one come back?
Nope.
It'll come back. If some people would stop talking, I don't know who that is. Wow. Any other thoughts? It was me.
Maybe I was going to even just say, like, I'm glad that you give feedback all the time, because I think it's good for us to also learn how to take feedback and to like piece through it and to actually go, well, what do I think? Like that's, you know what I mean? Because you're always, I mean, it's kind of like Angie's event too. She was like, I got all this feedback. And then she was like feeling unsure and discouraged a little bit too, right? And it's like, well, you've got to be able to know how to take the good and the bad and be able to know what you want to do with it and dig deep into like what you want. So
exactly.
You're training us well.
Thank you so much. You are spot on. It's almost like hiding the veg in the spaghetti sauce, right? It is the secret sauce of why we keep doing feedback in every single track. It is that reason. It is critical thinking skills, and it is aligning with your purpose, because at the end of the day, it's you and him and your purpose. That's all. We are just mentors and help, but we are not an intermediary. So you get to go to him and say, is that right? People told me for years, you speak too fast, right? But guess what? 95% of the people in the audience, they said they love it. So even though I know that, there's still times where, and I've mentioned this, I can tell when I'm going too fast. I can tell when I've been nervous and I've just gone so fast that it's even fast for me. And that's fast. So it didn't work, right? And that's okay. I just, at the end of it, I'm like, okay, I got to watch that and take a breath instead of speaking faster when I'm nervous, blah, blah, blah. But I love that critical thinking skill of, I always say, if it's shared, well-intentioned, right, with love and with clarity, if that's the case, then there's the ability to have choice. And that's the gift we give each other, is the gift of choice. So if I say something about a speaker one sheet or a keynote or something like that, hey, Levin, if I do something like that, that gives you choice now. And I love the point you make, Katrina. That means either you'll be like, oh, I never saw that. Yes, I think I'm going to do that, or a version of that. Maybe not that color, but I think I'll do that. That's a good idea. That's something to pay attention to. Or you'll get really clear. That is not it. That's not what I want to do. When we got with that guy several years ago, and he was like, you need to 10X this, you need to stack your slides, you need to do all that stuff. And I'm like, well, he knows better than I do. Man, did I learn expensively, that I learned that I knew more than I thought I did. I kept thinking, I need experts to tell me, and I still do. But that trusting your gut, that's a huge piece, you guys. And that's connecting with him, just like you were saying, and getting really clear about what's my lane, what's my offering, what is my style, how do I go about it? I love that Sarah's on. We were doing a little bit with her keynote for Saturday. For her keynote for Saturday. And it was so beautiful as she was telling me what she was thinking she wanted to share, her natural way of sharing is stories. It's storytelling. So I encourage her to do a keynote that is pulses of stories, and then you tie it together with touch points of learning, right? And that's why that was important. This point that you make of that, and it connects to the next point and the next point. So it's just the storytelling rhythm, so natural, so beautiful. And then just tidying up that story so that you say the important points in that very sort of quick, brief way that you do. And she always throws in like a funny one-liner. So good. So anyway, I love that. I love that you saw that, but why we do feedback and why it's important. And I really appreciate that's a two-way street. You guys are open to feedback and you do such a good job of taking that, considering it, trying something, putting it back in there, and then rinse and repeat. So I'm super proud of you. Yes, it is the most powerful piece of your content in a keynote, because you can stand and do stats all day, but the point is made. You could Google that. It's the story that engages and teaches. That's why the Savior used parables like none other, right? Just the master of it. Any other questions? I'm going to share a couple of thoughts today on something, because I think this is an important topic, because you are going to be facing this and dealing with it. So just know, if you have any questions or thoughts, just remember, it's like getting on the freeway. So you just have to go, Connie, stop. Yes, Raylene.
So, sorry, I have so many thoughts and stuff this morning. And, so I just, okay, where to start? My question, I guess, is moving forward in the speaking track, like, it is finally, after this block I've had for like a month, Heavenly Father's trying to show me, like, right now, my purpose isn't the big stage. It's not getting the big gig. And the words go back again, clear to my Find My Purpose challenge before I even joined. I need you to gather and feed, gather and feed. Like, that's just what keeps going through my head over and over and over. And not just feed physically, because I love to feed people too, but, you know, spiritually and with the things that I have to offer. Anyways, like, it's just been coming more and more as we've been talking even today. And like, I got the message from Lamira last night. You guys are so sweet about the January retreat and being worried about the timing and stuff like that. And I, even when I was working on my speaker one, the only feature I have is like detail retreats. And it was just like lightning bolt that just hit me as we were talking, that it's like, that's where I need you. I need you in these groups. I need you. And even last night when I did, I was in charge of our ward's adult harvest dinner, and the youth like made all the food and served, and we decorated and everything. And in doing that again, I was like, I got home and I was like, this is your thing. Like, I feed people, and then I was just out one-on-one, you know, like touching shoulders, how you doing, like checking on people, and people coming to me. And anyway, it opens up, it immediately like breaks down barriers and opens people. And that's, I figured out where my gift is, honestly. And that's so hard to say out loud, but so I'm just trying to figure out now, moving forward, like, on, obviously, like, being certified is still totally what I want. And I know it's so important because it ripples into everything. So anyways, I'm just trying to figure out now, like,
What that looks like.
yeah.
So first and foremost, I absolutely agree. You guys feel the same way? Your gift is you are a natural nurturer. And I saw that at the retreat. You were aware of who's doing what and how they're feeling. And, oh, we should do an arch for when Drew comes back from her marathon. I'm not thinking that stuff. I'm thinking, okay, we got this in 20 minutes. And that's my thing, is my gift is being able to keep things moving, humming, and get it done, right? And I need those natural nurturers who say, do you know, so-and-so hasn't had a chance to speak in any of the coaching groups. We need to make sure that she gets taken care of, right? You have such a gift for that. So I agree. And you guys, when you think about how often, I mean, yeah, I'm speaking tomorrow, and I've been speaking kind of a lot more recently because we've actually started to put a little more emphasis on that. But when you think about how much speaking I do, it's mostly in groups. It's mostly like this. So value that. That is where you actually get the turning of the flywheel of people going, oh, I get it. And I want to make that change. And I'm going to do that. I feel like Michael Jackson song, make that change. But I feel that in you. And I think I hope that none of you will think lesser of yourself as a speaker, that you're not on some big stage. I can honestly say the most fulfilling speaking that I do often, okay, except for Education Week, that is like the best because their spirit is just so dang strong, right? But it's so much more fulfilling in this kind of venue. A lot of times on a keynote stage, it is disconnected, and it's very much, and this is my opinion, but I feel like it's very much a self-centered thing. You're going out, you're showing, and you want people to love and adore what you've just said and say, wow, you're amazing, and give you a standing ovation, right? It's the exact opposite in these smaller venues. There's no standing ovation. It's all about the other person. You're focused on them. What do they need? How can I help them actually get this into their lives? So ideally, a big stage keynote has those elements, but you get what I'm saying. So anyway, I just hope that you feel the goodness and the validity of that. And that's awesome. As for logistics on the speaker track, you guys, once you're in the speaker track, you can stay in as long as you stay here. So don't stress that. However long it takes for you to certify is however long it takes. We keep saying, we keep a certain pace. And that's the same thing with the church. There's just, you go to church Sunday, it's the first and third Sundays are these, second and fourth Sundays are these. There's a rhythm to be anticipated. And you can go as slow or as fast as you want. You can skip ahead and watch all the modules. You can wait and watch them later when we're done. It doesn't matter. But in order to certify, there's that checklist, right? And you can just check those things. And then when you're ready, you're ready. So don't stress that. Okay.
Sounds good. Thank you. And I just thought it was so cool how, like, it just hit me this morning, like, even just being sick these last couple of weeks, like, Heavenly Father showed me I had 3 chances to speak in the last couple of weeks, and all 3 times I couldn't do it for different reasons. And I was like pulled away from it. And then I've been like sick, and I've just literally been like pulled back from everything. And I literally just had this thought, almost like Alma the Younger, like, I needed to confound you for a minute, because I was like, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, and I'm going, and I'm like, I'm gonna, and I just would push. And he's like, whoa, like,
It's not necessary.
Good, but this is like where I need you. And it's just like it's been humbling. It's been really hard, but it's just like, I'm just so grateful today, because I finally feel like, okay, like, I get it. I know where I'm supposed to be now. And it just brings like such just a calm and a peace, and like almost just takes the pressure off. And I just prayed again this morning, even before this call. I'm like, I realized another analogy. I'm an analogy girl, but I was like trying to team him with me instead of me yoke myself to him. And my words changed this morning. And I was like, okay, Heavenly Father, I want to yoke with you. So like, please show me the way. Sorry.
You sweetheart. I love that. And that is such a powerful distinction. And you're spot on. We all go through this. I constantly have to be retaught. Heavenly Father constantly is tapping me on the shoulder and going, you're doing that again. I love you, right? You don't need to. Where we get that fervor, which is awesome, because that fervor actually, it's the catalyst for the fire to actually have us do stuff. But then we end up taking it farther than it needs to go. And we almost start doing ownership of it. Like, oh, but this is my thing, and this is how I'm supposed to do this. And I need to get this thing done in this gig, instead of stepping back and continually partnering and saying, oh, so where do you want me to go with this? And what about today? And what about this thing? And is this thing, it looks good, but do I really need to do it? And I love your focus. I love your focus, because that's start as you mean to go on. That's going to go your whole life. I can't tell you how many times I've had blingy things in front of me, and I've had to say, Heavenly Father, what do you think about this? And there's been so many times it's like, that's not where I need you. That's not where I want you. And times where I did not know that if I would have done that, it would have been a negative on the back end in ways that I did not see. So I love it. And I agree. You are so good at partnering with him. And I love this whole mindset. You guys, this is just so powerful. This is so good. And this matters. This determines what your path is as a speaker, the keynote you're going to deliver, how you're going to deliver it, staying in that space of they're his children. not mine, right? We're all brothers and sisters, but they're his children. And just again, that D&C 69, we get to assist in the work. It's his work. We get to assist. It's not our job. We just get to be a part of what he's doing. So the pressure is not on us. Pressure's on him and the person that has the choice. We just get to be that mentor and helper along the way. So I love it. Thank you so much. Any other thoughts or comments? You ladies are just amazing. That was another thought I had. I was like, you know, pinch me that I get to work with these incredible women every day. I hear people talking about going to their jobs are like, oh, the people I work with are just drainers or like energy vampires or just blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. Come to the detail. All right. I thought I would share, if this works, about networking through being part of an organization. I saw again this week with being a part of NSA and being on the board, and I've seen with BYU Management Society last month, and I wanted to share a couple of these thoughts back then, but I've added on more, and I think this is better timing. But I really have seen such incredible value in doing that. Now, I know we've talked about choose an organization that you feel like you can be aligned with. So I know Angela Myers does Uplift Family, and so does Artist, and that makes total sense, right? Those organizations really jive with each other because they both talk about families and they both have special needs children, and that's kind of their role in that Uplift Families board. So if you can choose an organization and then offer to volunteer and then choose to be on their board. The reason why being on a board is good, what you'll probably have as a requirement is that you'll have a meeting once a month, and it's usually just an hour, sometimes an hour and a half. And with COVID, blessed COVID, another unexpected blessing, now they go for hybrid. Instead of I have to drive up to Salt Lake to go to this BYU Management Society meeting, now I can just listen in and it's not a big deal, which is so much better. And yes, sometimes it's good. Once every quarter for sure, I go and I make sure I'm networking with people. So I keep my face there and letting them know I'm here. But it's just a huge blessing. But being on the board, why do you think that is so crucial? And volunteering, even of itself, just volunteering is huge. But why? Why is having more of that engagement more important or helpful? Anyone?
Maybe like just the networking, like people know who you are, you know who people are, like, and you can help to influence for good. I mean, like you step up as a leader and people, I don't know, it's like a win-win thing, right? But then you are able to, they know who you are, what you stand for, things about you. It's those interactions that actually create more movement,
momentum,
right?
Yeah, exactly. Relationships are everything, right? And I mean, you're going in with a natural desire to help because you're going to choose an organization that I want to help. I looked at NSA and said, I want to help. And BYU Management Society, I was led to that. So I'm like, yeah, I want to help. With doing a board or organization, if you just start with volunteering, just start with volunteering. That was me with the Sorensen Institute, right? I'm here, I want to help. How do you need me to volunteer? I didn't even say any other specific other than if you need speakers, I do speaking, but I'm also happy to help with volunteer in any other way. That was, you know, what, for months, it's several months. And then now I'm actually speaking there. So I didn't do any other volunteering. They just plopped me right into speaking. So let them know your expertise. This is my area of expertise, but I'm happy to help, right? Because then they know where to plug you in. When you go onto a board or when you volunteer, go in with an active thing. Look at what they do and then say, I'm happy to help in this area. So when I went to BYU Management Society, the first day there, man, they were on me like a fly in a flea flugel. And they were like, hey, are you ready to volunteer? I'm like, wow, hi. And I chose my thing. I said, do you have any conferences I can help with either getting speakers or with speaking? And they said, we would love for you to do it. We have this MEL conference and blah, blah, blah. Well, what's the benefit of the MEL conference? I'm getting high name speakers. I offered to be in charge of them, be the speaker or handler so that I could help them. I'm getting to connect with, talk with, email with, building this rapport. And last night at NSA, Ramon was talking about that last night, the speaker that they had, and said that it's because he's had people that he's connected with and handled them and things like that, had them on podcast interviews, that's why he's able to have his business built so well, that he's on a first name basis with so many of the people, Microsoft and all these different names, Google, whatever. So that's what I saw. So for example, BYU Management Society, I came in, I said, I can volunteer on those. They said, great. We did a conference during COVID and it went well. And I'm going to talk about showing up and being, doing your thing. But then after that, we got Steve Young. And like I mentioned, I was able to talk with Steve Young because I was an organizer. I said, hey, would you be interested in doing a podcast? And he said, sure. Yeah, because there's trust. Now there's a relationship of trust and he knows, oh, I know you're professional. I know how you guys have worked with me, blah, blah, blah. So I was able to have him on a podcast. So can you see that? One thing leads to another. So this is something to consider in the organization that you choose. Choose one that you really want to be a part of, and then tell them the expertise and credibility that you have and where you want to show up, and choose and pick that. Same thing with NSA. I went in and said, there's all these things, that you can do. Well, I knew I wasn't going to be able to make the board retreat. And I know that if you're not there, what do you get stuck with? What everybody doesn't want to do. So remember that. So if you're not going to make a meeting or if you're not going to make something, talk to the big cheese ahead of time, text them and say, I'd love to volunteer. Here's where I'd love to play if it's open. And I did speaker showcase. Now at the time, I didn't know that the chair or whoever that helped with the speaker showcase got to have a few minutes of free video footage. Unexpected blessing, right? It's all in my alignment. Now this year doing that speaker lab, we actually last year, Michelle McCullough and I, we changed it. We said, we don't want to call it a speaking showcase because it just is, that's not what it's about. It's teaching them how to speak and then to be able to get good footage. So we changed it. We did more training and they loved it. So we did it that same way again this year. So again, putting my fingerprint on it, adding some value. How can we make this better? How can it generate more ROI for this organization? And you guys, you have to know, I was so scared to do that because it's a lot of organization stuff and that's not really my forte. So go back to what's already been done. When you go into an organization like that and you're going to help, go back and ask first thing, what's already been done and who did it last? Go find out what they did, how it worked, do the 3-step evaluation we do, what worked, what didn't, what would you do differently, right? So once you do your homework, then you can go ahead and start gathering your team. And that's what I did. Remember, Sherry Dew said she was talking with President Hinckley and she had been called to be the CEO of Deseret Book. And she was just like, things were not good. Deseret Book was failing. It was not doing well, blah, blah, blah. And she was like, I don't know. Anyway, she said, oh, I just wish that I was smarter. And President Hinckley immediately responded, I do too, right? I mean, that was just his trademark humor. So funny. But then he said, but you're smart enough to hire smart people, right? And she said, yeah, I can do that. So that's what she did. So when you go into this situation, whatever it is, this board, this organization, immediately hook on with someone else. Because that's what we do as mom mans. We try to do it as companions, if you haven't noticed, so that if someone can't, then the other person can step up because we have family and kids and sickness and all those things that men generally don't have to deal with. So hook on with someone else, preferably someone who's done it before, that you can get that. So when I came in, I was like, oh my heck, I just helped last year. I don't know. So what did I do? Michelle was the chair last year. I connected with her and I said, hey, how would you feel about being the co-chair? She's like, sure, because she wanted speaker footage, right? I didn't even want it, but she wanted speaker footage. So I'm like, that's great. Thanks for your help. So she took care of a bunch of the pieces that she knew already how to do, got us a great rate on the venue, all the things. And then I got one more person that could be on site and helpful. So very important that when you go and approach that organization, you're clear about what you can offer, about how much time you have, and say no to everything else. Because once that you do a good job on something, they're going to ask you for everything under the sun. They've already asked me to be president-elect of stuff. And I'm like, no, thanks, but no. So anyway, that's super important. Okay, so the second thing, I'm getting ahead of myself. Second thing, show up. Show up even when my kids, the NSA meeting is 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. in the morning. I put it on and most of the time I have my picture and then I'll turn it off and go take care, make sure they're getting ready for school, blah, blah, blah. It's only once a month. But then I come back on, or I just don't show my picture and I have my AirPods and I just walk around and I'm doing my thing, but I show up. So show up. That is the most important thing. Even when I did not know the speaker showcase was supposed to have already been organized, I thought it was in spring. And so she contacts me in September and says, hey, we haven't heard anything on speaker showcase. It's supposed to be in October. What's the scoops on it? And I went, I was just total transparent. I said, Cheryl, I did not know. I thought it was in spring. That's where they had done stuff before. It was in spring. I said, but I'm on it. Those are the 3 words anybody in an organization wants to hear. I'm on it. I'm on it. And I did. I started making phone calls, and within 2 days, I was like, we've got it. We know what we're doing, blah, 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 and just assure them that you're good. Now, one of the, I think I shared with NSA, the speaker we had a couple months ago, she came in and started volunteering at NSA in 5 years, just 5 years. She just started volunteering. She said, I thought that they would get to know me just by me volunteering. I didn't come in trying to get cred or anything like that, just by me coming in and showing up. And 5 years later, she's president-elect of the National Speakers Association. So that's a huge piece. It is the connections. You're building your network, and you're doing on a high level. Ramon said last night, he said, start going to higher ticket events. Why? Because you get access to those higher level people. You get access to those people, and suddenly the 6 degrees of connection, right, Kevin Bacon, it suddenly gets very, very short. And you are now at the table and connecting with those people that are those high level, and it can happen so fast. So show up and do a good job. Third one is set healthy boundaries. Like I said, I told them that I can't. When she asked me, Cheryl asked me to be on the board, I said, this is my situation. Single mom, this is what I'm juggling. This is the business that I've started. This is what I'm doing. I can give you this much, and I can guarantee that I will do everything I can to get that much to you. And she said, that's fine. I said, I'm going to have to leave early almost every Wednesday because I have a certain number of hours and then I've got to be back. And she said, totally got it. No worries. So now I don't have to apologize every month that I'm leaving early. She already knows. So set your healthy boundaries of what you can sustain. Then, as I mentioned, delegate to wiser people and hold them accountable in a very loving but firm way. So I had originally chosen one gal that could be the on-site helper. And then all of a sudden, 2 weeks ago, she goes, oh, hey, I got a speaking engagement and I really need to take this, so I won't be able to do it. Is that a good way to respond? No. So I texted her back and I said, in a text, and she sent it to me in a text. So I texted back and I said, I'm so excited for you. That sounds amazing. Let me know who's going to be your replacement. And I need to know by Friday or whatever the day was. So now the onus is back on them. And I didn't hear anything for a couple of days. And then I just sent another quick reminder text and said, hey, I'm so excited for you in this event. Remember, we still need to know who your replacement is. And I didn't see it. Maybe I missed it. Can you send me who your replacement is? And we can get them trained because we're ready to have a training meeting with them. And she got me a replacement. So put their feet to the fire. Express thanks all the time. In emails and texts, I always try to express things. And this isn't just one of those, okay, Dale Carnegie, do step number 4, right? To be like, make friends and influence people. I feel that to my soul. I want people to know, thank you so much. Life is busy and it's crazy. So thank you for doing that. And I probably have too many emoticons and I probably say it too much, but I don't care. I feel like a lot of times we don't get thanked enough for all the things that we do. So I probably don't even thank you guys enough, but anywhere you can think of it, it becomes kind of a natural thing, but just make sure you thank people. And if you have a hard thing to say thank you first, hit the hard thing, and then thanks so much at the end. And that thank you sandwich is very helpful. And then the unexpected blessings will come from that volunteer. Once you set those boundaries, it's sustainable. You can enjoy those unexpected blessings. So I said, I'm not doing footage. I just got footage from my speaker reel. I'm fine. I want to focus on everyone. Our time is so tight. It's only, 8 minutes this year. I don't want anyone to miss out. So I'm not worried about it. Michelle, she was in charge of the schedule and she kept putting me on. And I was like, Michelle, I said, I'm not going on. She's like, yeah, I know, but you need to. So we were going to split like for just 3 minutes and 3 minutes and 2 minutes, whatever. And I was like, just don't even put me on. So the day before she puts me on still. And I was like, okay, maybe I need to do something with this. And that's where I decided to do the marketing promo. Now imagine if I have 3 or 4 minutes and I'm going to market what we're doing with speaking, then what do you think is a good thing for me to do? I did our Keystone keynote. I wrote the hook. I did the stats. I emphasized a quick story. And then I finished up with how they can do it. The everyday person can do it. And then I did an almost testimonial. I said, I've taught people who didn't even know how to write a keynote to be able to create, deliver, and engage with an audience in a way that generates connection and revenue. And boom, was able to do that in such a short period of time. So I got the unexpected blessing. And because of training, I was ready to take the moment, seize carpe momentum is what it is, seize the moment. I was able to seize the moment. And now we're going to have great footage for the things that we have coming up. So last thought, because I have a discovery call at 10:30, is take the faith step, right? I did not know how. I did not know exactly what I was doing. I didn't know how to, even though I'm a speaker, it doesn't mean I know how to organize this big speaker conference for Mel. And it's very professional, almost intimidatingly so, right? They've got 40 chapters all over the globe and they're all like in their blue suits and their whatever. And it was intimidating, but I jumped in. I took the faith step. I learned from others, and then I put my fingerprint on it, and then we move forward. And I just want to encourage you to do the same thing. Prayerfully, carefully choose the organization that you want to start with to be able to help, because this has springboarded me so much. Because I was a part of the board, that's when I talked with Chris Barney, who was the president of NSA chapter 2 years ago, talked with her, and she's the one that invited me to Chad Hymas's ranch. She would not have invited me had I not been a part of the board. And she's like, well, I wasn't a part of the board then, but hadn't been an active part. Like they would have me help, and I was sort of ad hoc. And that's why they asked me to be a part of the board. Anyway, she invited me to come. And because of that, I had that conversation with Cheryl. And because of that conversation with Cheryl, I had the conversation with Michelle Villalobos. And if you give a mouse a cookie, then I was able to know I needed to do retreats. And here we are. So putting your foot in the door of an organization is a huge, successful piece. You make network connections. People get to see who you are. They think of you first top of mind for whatever it is that they want to have you do. It's a great way to do that and to up level in a very fast way. All right. I wish we had time for questions, but we don't. But hopefully you got something good out of today. Send me anything that you want. We're still going to be working on this week. I want you to watch the module of how to speak on the spot, and then we'll be talking about that next time. Not next week because it's Thanksgiving, but the next time that we meet. Okay, so you have a lot of time to watch that module. Sound like a plan? Ladies, my heart is full. We had a whole potpourri today, and it was so sweet and fulfilling. I love you. Keep marking me and let me know if you need a coach call, okay? I love you, ladies. I'm so sorry. We were just wrapping up our coaching call, our coaching meeting. Thanks for your patience.
No worries. How are you?
I'm good. I'm so excited to talk with you. So I don't know how much you know about me. Have you watched what we do, or have you seen anything that we do?
I just saw you twice present. The last time was at the After Divorce conference in BYU. Mm-hmm.
Oh, yay. That was such a good conference. Oh my gosh.
It was so fun.
Even better than the first one. I was like, wow, this improved even more. I mean, not improved like it was, but just, it was even better. Oh, so good.
Oh.
So I was so glad. I cannot wait to hear about who you are. So what I usually like to do is at the beginning, I just love to get a snapshot. Who you are, your life, what you do, family situation, all of those things, whatever you feel comfortable to share. I just love to get a snapshot. Does that sound good?
Okay. Yeah, sounds good, Connie.
All right.
So I've been divorced for 3 years. I separated a year prior. So, just been through that. And
So
my ex had a porn addiction. So that was hard. Like the whole marriage was hard.
oh my gosh.
So it's better now, but I think divorce is hard. And then there is the heart of being married to somebody with an addiction. And then there's the heart of dealing with the aftermath of
The betrayal and all that goes into that.
Yeah. And the way I found out was like really hard because I didn't know he had a porn addiction until 13 years into the marriage. And the way I found out was through him. I found him looking at a girl on Facebook, and he was a Playboy woman. And he had been like, messaging her, like, marry me and all these crazy things. And I thought, oh my gosh, what is wrong with you? Because if you're going to see this, you can just see it and not want her to marry you.
Oh my God.
And I didn't know about the porn. So I was just like, you're crazy. And who are you? And I think it's just the betrayal. I just felt like I didn't know who I was.
And it shatters everything you know to be true, because you have to reassess. If I didn't know this, what else don't I know? Or what am I not seeing? And the impact is unreal. One of my dearest friends, porn addiction, and same thing after like 15 years of marriage, she found it, went through the whole thing, apologized, all the thing, went through everything, and then found that he was still doing it, lying through his teeth to everybody, where you just go, how is that possible that you're so capable of doing that level of lying? And once it hits that, kudos to you, because once it hits that level, that's so difficult to even function in any kind of relationship, even in a family setting, no matter what, with that kind of deceit and duplicity. It's just so hard. So do you have kids?
I have 4 kids. Yeah, so that happened in 2011, and that was hard. And then I tried to make it work, and he never was sorry, because an addict, it's hard for them to be sorry. And so that was hard too, because in my mind I was like, if you're not sorry, then you're gonna maybe do it again, like